Hey everybody, Thoughts on Thursday coming at you right now from my favorite place, the schoolroom. It's also the quiet place in the afternoon when I can film these. Speaking of the schoolroom, that is the topic of my thoughts today. This is going to be maybe a little bit random for Thoughts on Thursday, but not too random. This is something I'm really passionate about. And actually, this is a question that has come up a few times in the comments section. I've had people bring this up and ask about this and say this, but the topic is homeschool. And so today, my video is dedicated to all of you parents who are considering homeschool, have maybe wanted to do homeschool and have just been maybe afraid to bite the bullet and do it. And this video is for you today. So I want to say, first of all, that I did not plan on doing homeschool. This was not something that I had any intention of or dreamt of doing or really had a strong desire to do. I was in public school for all of my education, and my husband was in Christian school for all of his education. I think maybe he had like 1 year of homeschooling, I can't remember, but anyways, mostly Christian school. And like I said, I was public school. And I had honestly thought that my oldest son, Wyatt, when I would put him in school, that it would be probably a Christian school or, I don't know, a Montessori school or something like that when it's time to start kindergarten. And that's kind of where my thoughts were. But when he was really little, we had a vaccine exemption for him for school. He had a bad reaction to one, and we had decided to do an exemption. That was the recommendation from the doctor. I'm not here to debate all of that. Most of you know I'm a hippie and really crunchy and granola. We never did anything after that. So anyways, that one was enough for us to go, we're not doing that. But anyways, so he had this exemption, and right when it was time for him to begin school, whether it was preschool or kindergarten, the law changed in California where exemptions were no longer valid. So you can't get medical or religious exemption. Kids have to be vaccinated according to the state and whatever the state sets. So I think, at one point I looked into it, and for me to put my kids in school, they would have needed something like 22 vaccines or something crazy like that just to attend school. So anyways, that was for public school, private school, whatever. And it forced me to have to homeschool him because we couldn't do that anymore, and I wasn't going to inject that stuff into his body. So here we were going to do homeschool. And I was absolutely terrified. I struggled through school myself. I had tutoring for a lot of school. I didn't really get the best grades. When I was in high school, I kind of just did the minimum to graduate because I was just struggling so much. And I had like some really sad experiences too. I just remember I had tutoring for, I did 3 years of math in high school, and I had tutoring for all of those. And one day after school, I'm in my tutoring, one of the teachers is helping me, and she's trying to explain something to me. And I'm really trying so hard. I'm trying so hard to understand this math concept. And for some reason, it just wasn't clicking with me. And she finally just goes, "Walker, why can't you get this?" And she just storms out of the room and just left me there. I laugh now. It was not funny then. I was really like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. I had such a hard time. That was really painful for me. And she would create these extra credit packets that were like really easy math just for me, like just so that I would at least get a passing grade for her class. Anyways, all that to say, the idea of homeschooling my kids, I just thought, am I even capable? Am I smart enough? Like, can I do this? And I didn't want to fail them. I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to just mess it up and put them on some other course. And so I began to just put in the hard work, first of all, of just studying and looking into, well, what are the different types of curriculum? What are the different types of homeschool I could do? What are the different kind of ideas and concepts behind homeschool? Not coming from a homeschool family, I didn't really know much about it, so I just started looking into it. And in that whole process, I discovered something called the unschooled method. Now, I can't really say I'm a total advocate of that because I like structure and I like rhythms and routines. I like having like a schedule and kind of a checklist of things that we're doing and marking off. So I'm not like a super huge fan of that. But the one thing I did get out of that, out of studying the unschooled method, was that the biggest kind of concept behind it is that you are feeding your children's curiosity. And the whole idea is that if you're teaching them things as they're curious, it will only cause their curiosity to keep growing. They'll keep asking more questions and keep being curious. And it essentially creates these lifelong learners. They love to learn. They're curious about the world. They're getting those curiosities met and satisfied, and it just brings out more, and they just want to keep learning. And the idea is that you create humans that love to learn for all of their life versus kids who are just trying to get passing grades and get through school and get on the other side of it, you know? And I really took that to heart, and I kind of just made this commitment inside of me. I may not know all of the answers to perfectly do homeschool just perfect. I'm sure there'll be days that I do great and days that I fail. I'll probably try different curriculums and they'll be great, and I'll try others and we'll hate them. Who knows? But the one thing that I wanted to make sure I always do is that what I just said, the curiosity, to satisfy their curiosity. That whenever they ask a question, I just want to stop right then and figure it out. And if I don't know the answer, I want to teach them how to look up the answer. Let's discover this together. And that has kind of been at the very core of all of my educating and all of my homeschooling, that regardless of everything else, I want to feed this inside of them to make lifelong lovers of learning. Okay? So there's that. I'm going to put that out there. Now, the next thing is, when it was pushed upon me that I had to homeschool and didn't have another option, gosh, it ended up being the most incredible blessing. Now, at first, I admit it was a little hard. I realized, okay, I have to learn Wyatt, my oldest. I have to learn his learning style. So, I got a curriculum that was like, some friends recommended it. They said they like it. I got it. I was trying it and I was like, this is not working. Wyatt, he doesn't enjoy this. He doesn't like it. I asked another friend who homeschools, what do you use? They told me one. I got that. That one was working. He loved it. I remember at one point, Wyatt, for some reason, he just could not understand rhyming words. He just didn't understand the concept of a rhyme. I would say, okay, now what rhymes with toe? And he'd be like, chair. And I'm like, no. And I'm trying to explain over and over. I tried all these different ways over and over and over. And finally, I found some way to teach it that he finally got it. And it just clicked and it made sense to him. But in that process, I actually felt like as long as I could control myself, like my own, like just having patience and grace on myself and grace on him, I found that I was actually like really getting to know him in this process, really getting to know how his brain works and how it kind of functions and how he thinks. I wonder now with my kids, if they were in school, in, let's just say, public school, Christian school, whatever, if they're in school, for a certain amount of days, every day, or a certain amount of hours per day, certain amount of days per week, per month, all this time spent away from me, and they come home and, maybe I do homework with them, but we'd probably just be spending time together and just having this time since they're in school all day. And I don't know if I would know them as intimately as I know them now. Maybe, I don't know that. But what I'm saying is, in the process of having to learn their individual and unique learning styles, it caused me to really come to know them in such a deep and intimate way. I can describe in great detail, each of them, how each of their brains work, what they excel at. I understand this curriculum will work for Wyatt and Maisie. It will not work for Bear. This curriculum will work for Bear and maybe Maisie, but it won't work for Wyatt. Like I can look at different things and understand, their likes and dislikes, and I can understand even the best way now to teach them. Like I said, what would work and what won't. Because I've just got to see just like this inside look at their little brains and how their brains function and how they absorb information and how they grow and how they learn. And it's also been so incredible and redeeming, actually, for me to be with them when it's been really hard, when there's been something that they've just struggled with and they aren't getting it, and it's just so hard, and there's tears and there's, I don't want to do this, all this stuff. And I can remember to all of those moments that I had, that I felt dumb, I felt inadequate, I felt just not capable. And I was getting left behind in class. I mean, realistically, like, no offense to teachers, I understand, like, it must be so hard for teachers. They have a whole room of students. There's one of them and all these kids. And if one kid is falling behind and just struggling and not getting the concepts, it is probably so difficult and maybe at times impossible for them to stop everything, to go and figure out how this one unique child learns his unique way, whatever it is, without causing the rest of the class to just have to wait for that kid. I mean, this is how a lot of students fall behind, because they're trying to keep up with everyone else, and everyone goes at a different pace. They learn at a different pace. They absorb information in a different way. They learn in a different way. I mean, props to teachers. That's probably like the biggest puzzle and riddle to sort out every year. You get a fresh group of students and you're starting all over again, sorting out each one and working so hard to keep them all caught up. My point is this: it was really redeeming for me just to be able to sit with them and affirm them. You are smart. You are able to get this. Have grace for yourself. Be patient. To pray with them. We would just stop in the middle of tears and just pray and just ask the Lord to help us. They'd say, Jesus, help me to understand this. Help me to learn this. Help me to have grace for myself. Help me to be patient with myself. In this process, it's even helped draw them closer to the Lord and help them to understand that Holy Spirit is our helper in all things. Holy Spirit is our helper, not just in this moment of, I'm struggling with something, internally in my heart, God help me. But Holy Spirit is truly our helper in all things, and that we can bring God into our school tasks even. And I think it's just been great for them even to come to know God in that way and to grow their relationship with Him in that way. So I just want to encourage moms, dads watching this. If you have been considering homeschool and maybe have felt afraid or inadequate or just unsure, I just want to encourage you, go for it. Give it a shot. I think that you will find it to be so rewarding and actually a blessing. It's been awesome even to have the freedom with our time. We love to be outdoors and love to camp and to go out and explore. And it's pretty nice that we can go in the off season when campgrounds and other places aren't as crowded and just bring school along with us. And my kids love doing school outside. It's actually just been a blessing, like I said, to have that and to be able to do that. I know that homeschool it can be expensive, but there is a whole world. Homeschool families are like this incredible network of people who are passionate about it and passionate about helping each other. There's a whole network of other homeschool families that are always ready to help, willing to help, and will have extra curriculum that like their students have grown out of, and they're saying, sure, yeah, you can borrow this. Here's the teacher book. You just need to get the student workbook or whatever it is. There's, tons of like homeschool fairs and get-togethers where people bring their used curriculum and you can purchase it at way cheap prices. There is so much accessible. There's tons of online resources. One of my favorites is education.com. They have tons of online games and thousands of worksheets that you can print out on every single topic. And you can just pay for like a year subscription and then have this whole stuff, all this stuff available to you to either print out or learning games for them to play that my kids love and actually learn really well from. But anyways, all that to say, there shouldn't be a reason not to, like if it's in your heart, just give it a shot. If you're afraid you're going to let them down like I was, you won't. They're your kids. You love them. You want to do the best for them. It will pull something out of you to put in an effort that you maybe even didn't know you were capable of in learning how to teach and how to do homeschool. It's so rewarding. And also, if you're worried about the social aspect, listen, those days are done. More and more people are choosing homeschool these days. You just have to be intentional. Get your kids out and about and around other people. It's just not true that homeschool kids are not socialized. I'm telling you right now, my kids are far more socialized than most children. They are the kids on the playground approaching the other children and saying, "Hi, my name's Wyatt. What's your name? Do you want to play with me?" They make friends everywhere we go. They interact with people so well. When they meet adults, they shake their hand, they look in their eyes, they can have an adult conversation. They're very social. Teach them to be social. If you're worried about them, if you're worried about them being weird, we all remember growing up, those homeschool kids that were just a little bit weird. But you know what? Look at the parents. Let's be honest, okay? If you're weird, your kids will probably be weird. I think that's just the truth. All those kids that you remember from growing up that were homeschooled that you think were a little bit weird, probably the parents were a little bit weird. My point is this. If you're worried about that kind of stuff, you are an adult with the power to do something about it, and you can. And the last thing I'll say is going back to the curiosity. Just feed that. It's so good. My kids, one day we were in the kitchen cleaning up from breakfast, getting ready to start school, and one of them said, "Hey, Mama, how do they make foil?" And I said, "I don't know." So random. Now, a lot of times as parents, we might go, "I don't know," and just move on. But I've trained myself now to stop and go, "Let's look it up." And that's the power of the internet. We went on YouTube and I looked up how to make foil. And wouldn't you know, there are videos on YouTube about how foil is made. We spent the next, hour and a half watching videos about how foil is made. The awesome thing about this is not that we're watching funny videos about how foil is made, but that my kids, they are so curious. They think about this stuff. They ask these questions all the time. I just was reading in my journal when Wyatt was little. He said to me, again, because I've just fed this, when they ask questions and I don't know, we'll look it up together or we'll go to the library and look it up. But anyways, Wyatt asked me one time, "When I get to heaven, can I turn into an animal?" And I said, I don't think so, but I can't really say for certain. And he said, "Well, can you just Google that real quick and look it up?" It was so funny. But my point is this, they've come to know, we're going to keep learning and we can learn. When there's something we don't know, we can figure it out. We can learn it. And that's gold right there. That's exactly what you want any mature person to have inside them. If I don't know something, I can learn. I can grow. That's the basis of all of us, right? Okay. Those are my thoughts for today. Just an encouragement. Moms, dads, if you've been thinking about it, unsure, maybe a little bit afraid, this is you can do it. Go for it. It is so fun. It is so awesome. Seasons change. Maybe it will be great for a season, and maybe there's a season it's not so great and you got to put them back in school. That's okay too. Do what works for your family, what works for your life. But if it's in your heart, just go for it. Take the leap out there. I don't think you'll regret it.